When God begins to help you, everything about your life starts to shift. You sense a divine wind blowing behind your efforts, carrying you where your strength could never take you. The same steps you once took that led nowhere now produce results beyond imagination. You begin to understand that it is not by might, not by power, but by the Spirit of the living God that mountains move and rivers part. When God helps you, even your small efforts begin to multiply, because His anointing takes what is ordinary and makes it extraordinary. You will notice that divine acceleration begins to take place. What took others a decade may take you a year. What seemed impossible becomes effortless. God compresses time for those who walk in obedience and faith. The same way He turned Joseph's prison into a palace overnight, He will turn your struggle into a testimony. The moment His favor rests upon you, stagnation ends. You begin to live not by chance, but by divine orchestration. Every step you take carries the fragrance of destiny, and your pace is governed by grace. Then unexplainable favor begins to surround you. You walk into rooms where your name has already been spoken. People begin to like you without reason. Doors that were sealed shut begin to open before you arrive. Even those who once ignored you will start to notice you. The favor of God becomes your invisible resume. It speaks louder than your qualifications, louder than your background, louder than your efforts. You find yourself in places you never thought you'd reach, doing things you never believed you could do, because heaven itself has endorsed your assignment. When God helps you, inner peace begins to dominate your heart. The chaos around you can no longer disturb the calm within you. While others are panicking, you are resting. While others are breaking, you are believing. You discover that peace is not the absence of storms, but the presence of the Savior in your boat. You learn to trust even when you cannot trace. The peace of God becomes your anchor, your assurance, your quiet confidence that all things are working together for your good. You will begin to sense supernatural clarity guiding you. The fog of confusion disappears. The same path that once looked uncertain becomes illuminated. Suddenly, you know which decisions to make. You feel a divine hand leading you to the right people, the right timing, and the right opportunities. The Spirit begins to whisper direction, sometimes softly, sometimes strongly, but always with accuracy. And when you obey, things fall into place with heavenly precision. You will notice invisible hands fighting for you. Things begin to align beyond your understanding. Someone makes a mistake that benefits you. A closed door suddenly swings open. An adversary falls silent. You realize it was never coincidence. It was providence. God Himself has entered your situation. His angels go before you, His favor walks beside you, and His glory guards behind you. You stop striving and start resting, knowing that you are no longer fighting alone. And then you begin to see victory upon victory. You stop counting your failures because they no longer define you. Every challenge becomes a platform for glory. Every trial becomes a testimony. You start living in the rhythm of divine help, where every burden becomes lighter, every tear becomes a seed, and every prayer becomes a prophecy fulfilled. So if life feels too heavy, if the road seems too long, pause and ask, who is helping me? Because when God is helping you, these 7 signs will manifest: acceleration, favor, peace, clarity, divine defense, unstoppable victory, and a joy that cannot be explained. You won't have to chase success. Success will begin to chase you. You won't have to demand recognition. Heaven itself will announce you. And through it all, you will know, not by word, not by emotion, but by evidence, that God is with you, God is for you, and God is helping you. When God begins to help you, the first thing that happens is divine acceleration. You start to move at a speed that doesn't match your ability, education, or experience. You feel a supernatural force pushing you forward beyond what is normal, beyond what is expected. Suddenly, time begins to bend in your favor. What used to take you years to build now begins to form in months. What seemed like a long delay becomes a quick testimony. When divine acceleration comes, it is not because you are running faster, but because God's wind is carrying you. It's not that you've become stronger, it's that grace has stepped in to do what human strength could never accomplish. Divine acceleration happens when heaven interrupts the ordinary flow of life. The process that others depend on no longer limits you. It's the moment when God says, enough waiting, now is your time. You see, when you walk with Him, He doesn't always follow human timelines. You may have thought you were late, but with God, lateness is an illusion. He can restore lost years in a single season. He can make up for wasted opportunities in a single encounter. He can lift you from obscurity to prominence in the blink of an eye. When God helps you, He doesn't just bless you, He fast-tracks your destiny. Look at the life of Joseph. For years he was forgotten, imprisoned, and overlooked. But when the time came, God moved him from the dungeon to the palace in one day. He didn't climb step by step, he was lifted instantly. That's divine acceleration. When God's hand gets involved, He changes the pace of your life. He takes the slow, frustrating, ordinary rhythm of human struggle and replaces it with divine speed. Things you prayed for suddenly start happening one after another. You will find yourself saying, "How did this happen so quickly?" But deep inside, you'll know the answer. God is helping me. Divine acceleration also brings alignment. As you begin to move faster, you realize that things start to connect effortlessly. The right people come at the right time. The right doors open with perfect timing. You don't have to manipulate, compete, or chase anything. It comes to you. Because when God accelerates you, He aligns the environment to your advancement. He speaks to the hearts of people who are part of your destiny. He moves circumstances like chess pieces, positioning everything for your good. You might have thought you were behind, but when His help arrives, you find yourself ahead. Sometimes this acceleration comes after a long season of silence. You may have felt stuck, praying and waiting for something to change. And then, without warning, everything starts moving at once. That's how God works. He allows a delay to prepare you for a day of divine speed. He doesn't want your blessing to come before your character is ready. But once He knows you can carry what He has promised, He releases acceleration that makes up for every lost moment. Those who mocked you for being slow will soon wonder how you moved so quickly. It's not because you were smarter. It's because God's favor overtook you. Divine acceleration also humbles you. When you see how quickly God can change your story, you realize that no amount of effort could have produced such results. You stop boasting in your plans and start glorifying His power. You begin to rest in the understanding that the same God who created the universe can also manage your timeline. You start to trust His seasons, even when they seem delayed, because you know He can redeem time. You stop comparing yourself with others, because divine help doesn't work by competition. It works by revelation. You know that when your set time comes, nothing on earth can stop it. When divine acceleration begins, even obstacles become part of your movement. The things that once held you back start to push you forward. Closed doors redirect you to better ones. Disappointments become fuel for new beginnings. Everything begins to serve your purpose. You can almost feel heaven saying, "Now is your moment." You move in peace, not panic. You walk with confidence, not confusion. Because you know you are no longer walking alone. You are being carried by the same Spirit that lifted Joseph, elevated David, and promoted Esther. And when that divine wind blows behind you, no force in this world can hold you back. When God begins to help you, unexplainable favor surrounds you. It is not something you can earn, manipulate, or control. It is a divine covering that goes before you and speaks for you. Favor is when people are drawn to bless you without understanding why. It is when situations that should have been against you turn in your favor. It is when heaven endorses your life and the earth cannot help but respond. When God's favor rests upon you, even your presence carries weight. You enter a room and something invisible announces you before you speak. Your name begins to echo in places you have never been, and doors you did not knock on begin to open. This kind of favor is not natural, it is divine. It flows from God's pleasure, not from people's approval. You cannot explain it, you can only witness it. It is the reason why some people labor for years with little results, while others see extraordinary breakthroughs in a short time. The difference is not in their effort, it is in who is helping them. When heaven decides to favor you, no earthly power can deny it. Even those who dislike you will be used to promote you. God can use the hands of your enemies to deliver blessings you never expected. When God's favor surrounds you, you begin to experience grace in every area of life. Opportunities appear where you least expect them. People start recommending you, speaking for you, and connecting you without your request. Things that others fight to achieve begin to come to you with ease. You see, favor does not remove effort, it multiplies its effect. One step in favor can do what 1,000 steps in human effort could never accomplish. It is not about being in the right place at the right time, it is about being in the center of God's will. Favor finds you when your heart aligns with heaven's purpose. Look at the story of Esther. She was an orphan, a foreigner, and a woman in a system that offered her no advantage. Yet when God's favor came upon her, she stood before a king who couldn't resist her request. It was not beauty alone that elevated her, it was divine favor. One moment of favor lifted her from obscurity into royalty. That is what happens when God helps you. He places his signature on your life, and suddenly, the world begins to see you differently. You are not favored because of your position. You are positioned because of your favor. Favor also protects you. It goes before you to disarm opposition. When others plot against you, God's favor shields you from their attacks. It creates divine confusion in the camp of your enemies. What was meant to destroy you becomes the very thing that lifts you. People who tried to block you end up helping you unknowingly. You will look back and realize that what seemed like chaos was actually God's hand arranging your promotion. Favor turns setbacks into setups and delays into divine preparation. When favor surrounds you, you begin to see that it is not about what you deserve. It is about who you serve. It's not your RA, somme. It's your relationship with the one who opens doors that no man can shut. The world calls it luck, but you know it is the evidence of divine partnership. You can't explain why people trust you, why they give you chances, or why things just work out for you. It's simply because God's favor has gone ahead of you. Unexplainable favor also brings influence. People begin to listen when you speak. Your words carry impact beyond your experience. God uses your life as a testimony of His goodness. He gives you a voice that penetrates hearts not because you are perfect, but because His favor rests on you. And this influence is never self-serving. It is meant to glorify the giver, not the receiver. When God's favor surrounds you, you walk differently. You stop striving and start trusting. You stop begging for opportunities because you realize that what is meant for you cannot miss you. Favor makes the hard things easy and the impossible possible. It is the unseen fragrance of heaven that turns ordinary days into divine encounters. When God is helping you, you no longer chase blessings. Blessings begin to chase you. Every step you take becomes a step into divine increase, not because of what you've done, but because of who walks with you. When God begins to help you, a deep and unshakable peace fills your heart, a peace that doesn't make sense to the natural mind. It is not the peace that comes from comfort or control. It is the peace that comes from knowing you are not alone. You begin to sense that no matter what happens around you, God's hand is steady beneath you. The storms may rage, the winds may blow, but your spirit remains calm. You no longer live reacting to fear or uncertainty, because something inside you whispers, "It is well." That voice is not human courage, it is divine assurance. It is the Holy Spirit reminding you that heaven's strength is stronger than earth's struggle. This peace is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of divine order in the midst of them. When God helps you, He doesn't always remove the storm, but He gives you the power to rest in the middle of it. That's why you can walk through valleys that others fear to enter and still keep your faith intact. You learn to sleep through what once kept you awake at night. The anxiety that used to dominate your thoughts begins to fade because you've discovered that God never loses control. He is not panicked about your future. He already wrote the ending before your story began. When that realization takes root in your heart, peace becomes your posture. There is a kind of calm that only comes from trust. Trust is the bridge between faith and peace. When you trust that God is fighting for you, you stop fighting everything around you. You stop trying to control outcomes and you start resting in His plan. You stop asking, "Why me?" and begin to say, "Use me." You stop complaining about the delay and start thanking Him for the development. When God helps you, He replaces panic with patience, worry with worship, and fear with faith. You start to breathe differently. You walk with quiet confidence because your peace is not tied to results. It is tied to relationship. Look at Daniel in the lion's den. Everything about that situation screamed fear, yet he rested. He didn't argue, didn't plead, didn't panic. He simply trusted the one who sent him there. And when the morning came, the same lions that could have devoured him became the evidence of his peace. That is what happens when divine peace is upon you. What should destroy you becomes your testimony. You stop fearing lions because you've learned that God can shut their mouths. You stop fearing darkness because you know light will always find you. Peace becomes your weapon, your shield, and your silent declaration that you belong to a kingdom that cannot be shaken. This peace also changes how you see people. You no longer carry bitterness or resentment, even toward those who wronged you. When God helps you, you understand that revenge is not your responsibility. Peace is. You stop wasting energy fighting human battles because you know the real fight belongs to the Lord. You start to forgive quickly, love freely, and let go easily. You understand that the one who walks in peace is always greater than the one who lives in chaos. Peace also gives you clarity. When your heart is calm, you can hear God clearly. Confusion thrives in chaos, but revelation flows in rest. When you are anxious, you hear noise. When you are at peace, you hear instruction. That's why the enemy's greatest strategy is to disturb your peace, because if he can't stop God's plan, he'll try to distract your heart. But when divine peace governs your soul, no attack can shake your foundation. You may bend, but you won't break. You may cry, but you won't collapse. This peace becomes the greatest evidence of God's help. It is the fruit that grows in the soil of surrender. When others see you smiling through pain, standing through pressure, and believing through disappointment, they realize there must be something, or rather someone, sustaining you. That someone is God himself. His peace keeps your mind when logic fails. It guards your heart when the world betrays you. It lifts your spirit when circumstances try to pull you down. When God helps you, you don't just survive storms, you walk through them in peace, and the world sees in you the reflection of his perfect calm. When God begins to help you, supernatural clarity and confidence begin to fill your spirit. Suddenly, what once felt confusing becomes clear. The fog of uncertainty starts to lift, and you begin to see your path with new eyes. You no longer move in circles or make decisions out of fear. Instead, you begin to walk with divine direction. You realize that you are not guessing your way through life. You are being guided by the hand of the Almighty. You begin to recognize his voice in ways you never could before. There's a deep knowing in your heart, a conviction that this is the way you must go. You stop second-guessing every decision because you know that heaven is orchestrating your steps. When God helps you, he gives you divine insight. You start to understand that every delay had a purpose, every detour had a reason, and every disappointment was a redirection. Things that once frustrated you now make sense. You begin to discern patterns in your journey, not random events, but divine alignments. God begins to reveal why he closed certain doors, why he separated you from certain people, and why he allowed certain seasons of silence. Suddenly, confusion turns into revelation. You understand that he was never denying you, he was developing you. You begin to see that the path to destiny is rarely straight but always secure. When clarity comes from God, it is accompanied by peace. You no longer make decisions out of desperation or pressure. You begin to move only when you sense his timing. And when you do, you find that everything begins to align, the right people, the right resources, the right opportunities. Divine clarity brings divine rhythm. You begin to flow with the Spirit instead of fighting against circumstances. Life no longer feels like a struggle to make things happen. It becomes a journey of obedience. You start to trust that when you can't see the full picture, God still holds the brush. Think about Abraham. God told him to leave everything familiar and go to a place he did not know. To the human mind, that instruction made no sense, yet Abraham obeyed. That's divine clarity, not the absence of questions, but the presence of trust. He didn't need to know all the details because he knew who was leading him. When God is helping you, you don't need to understand everything, you just need to take the next step. Every time you obey, another piece of the path is revealed. It's like walking in the dark with a lamp that lights only one step at a time. You can't see the destination, but you can see enough to move forward, and that's all God requires. This supernatural clarity also brings confidence. You stop apologizing for your calling. You stop seeking validation from people who don't understand your vision. You begin to speak with authority, not arrogance, because your confidence is not rooted in yourself, but in the one who sent you. You stop being intimidated by challenges because you understand that the God who gave you the vision has already prepared the provision. When you carry divine clarity, you no longer need to prove anything. Your results speak for you. Confidence from God is not loud, it is steady. It is the quiet assurance that even when things don't go as planned, they are still going as purposed. It is standing firm when others retreat because you know who stands beside you. You begin to move differently, speak differently, and think differently. You stop shrinking to fit people's expectations because you know your assignment comes from heaven, not human approval. And as you walk in this clarity, others begin to notice. They see that you are not easily shaken. They see that you make decisions with wisdom and grace. They sense that something unseen is guiding you. That something is the presence of God, the Spirit of truth leading you into all understanding. When God helps you, you stop wondering and start walking. You stop guessing and start knowing. You stop fearing the unknown because you realize that the one who knows everything is leading the way. That is the power of divine clarity. It turns ordinary direction into extraordinary destiny. When God begins to help you, invisible hands start to fight for you. You may not see them, but you will feel their presence in every victory that doesn't make sense, in every breakthrough that comes without explanation, in every battle you win without lifting a finger. When heaven takes over your fight, your struggles begin to shift. Things that used to drain you suddenly start working in your favor. People who once stood against you begin to fall silent. Situations that once intimidated you begin to turn around. You start to realize that success is no longer about your ability, but about divine intervention. You are no longer fighting alone. God has stepped into your situation. This is the mystery of divine assistance. When God helps you, He mobilizes His unseen army on your behalf. Angels go before you to prepare the way. The Spirit goes within you to give you strength. His favor goes around you as a shield. You are surrounded by help even when you can't see it. There are battles being won in secret places, doors being opened in rooms you have never entered, your name being mentioned in conversations you are not part of, and enemies being silenced without your knowledge. You may not understand how, but you know something powerful is at work. You sense that heaven is involved. When invisible hands fight for you, your confidence begins to grow. You stop living in fear of failure or defeat because you know that divine power is backing you. Even when opposition rises, you don't panic. You simply stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. The more you trust Him, the more you see His hand. You realize that life is not just about effort, it's about alignment. When you are aligned with God's purpose, everything else begins to align with you. Even what was meant for evil starts to serve your good. Look at the story of Moses and the Red Sea. The Israelites were trapped between Pharaoh's army and the water. There was no human way out, yet God's invisible hand parted the sea. The people didn't have to fight, they just had to move forward. And when their enemies tried to follow, those same waters closed upon them. That's what happens when God fights for you. He uses what threatens you to destroy what's against you. He doesn't need weapons, He just needs your obedience. When you walk where He tells you, He handles what tries to stop you. Sometimes you will feel these invisible hands in moments of exhaustion. When you want to give up, something inside you says, keep going. That strength is not your own, it is divine reinforcement. You find yourself accomplishing tasks you thought were impossible, surviving storms that should have broken you, and maintaining peace when others collapse. The invisible hands of God are carrying you when you cannot carry yourself. He is your defender, your protector, your unseen warrior. Even when you are unaware, He is working behind the scenes. When God helps you, He also fights battles you didn't even know existed. He removes people from your path who would have harmed your destiny. He blocks opportunities that look good but would lead you astray. He delays certain seasons to protect your future. You might see it as rejection, but heaven calls it redirection. His hands are not just fighting external enemies, they are shaping your inner life. He is protecting your mind from fear, your heart from bitterness, and your faith from failure. His help is holistic, it covers you completely. When divine help surrounds you, victories begin to look effortless. It's not because the journey is easy, but because you are carried through it. You stop wasting energy on worry because you know that God's hand never fails. The same hand that shut the lion's mouths for Daniel, that held the storm back for the disciples, that lifted Peter from the water, is the same hand that fights for you now. And when He fights, the outcome is already decided. So when you find yourself in a battle that feels too big, don't despair. You are not alone. Heaven is not silent. The invisible hands of God are moving, arranging, protecting, and defending. Your part is to trust, to stay in faith, and to move in obedience. Because when God helps you, you don't fight for victory, you fight from victory. Every struggle becomes a setup for a testimony, and every battle becomes proof that you were never fighting by yourself. Thank you, beloved brothers and sisters, for opening your hearts and allowing the word to speak to you today. I believe that as you've listened, something within you has been awakened, a deeper awareness that you are not walking alone. God is helping you, fighting for you, and guiding you into places your strength could never reach. Remember, every challenge you face is not a sign of abandonment, but a stage for His glory to be revealed through your life. As you go forth from this moment, carry this truth. When God is with you, no opposition can stand against you. Keep your faith strong, your spirit humble, and your heart expectant. Walk boldly, knowing that heaven is working behind the scenes, aligning every step you take with divine purpose. Thank you for being part of this journey of faith and inspiration. Until we meet again, may His grace cover you, may His peace guard your heart, and may His favor continue to surround you like a shield. Stay blessed, stay strong, and never forget you are never alone, for God is helping you. Goodbye, and may the presence of the Lord go with you always.